Hi, and welcome back to the White Noise podcast. I'm Leanna, and I'm here with my lovely co-host Sky. Today, we're going to be talking about Community and how much we love it, the things that maybe we don't love about it, and of course, we're going to be talking about the fabled 6 seasons and a movie. So
Don't say fabled. Don't say fabled. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Not anymore.
Well, you say that. Everybody started, and like, if you're a Community fan, please stop putting this energy out into the world. People are talking about at the moment how, because like all different streaming services are like cancelling really popular shows, that they might cancel the Community movie before it's even happened. But anyway, we don't exist in that timeline yet. We currently exist in the best timeline, that the movie is coming out. Apparently, it's going to start filming in June. But we'll see, yeah.
I mean, I'll believe it when I bloody see it, you know.
For anyone who doesn't know what Community is, it is a show that came out in 2009 and ran for 6 seasons, hence the iconic 6 seasons in a movie that we've all been holding on to for a long time. As any show like this does when it starts, and it has an ensemble cast, we have Jeff Winger as our anchor character, and through him we meet the original Greendale 7. That's something else we'll talk about a bit later on. The Greendale 7 being Jeff, Britta, Abed, Troy, Shirley, Annie, and Pierce. What starts the story about a failed lawyer enrolling in community college turns into an indescribable series of chaos and unlikely scenarios that I'm pretty sure shaped like 80% of my humour.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. When did you start watching it?
So I started watching it, I think, in my first year of university. So, because I remember that was like a really formative time for me. I think it was when I was about 16, 17, I started watching It's Always Sunny. And then I think Community, I think I would have been about 17. I remember I had a sick day off college and I'd kept seeing it recommended on Netflix back when it was on Netflix. And I just couldn't like bring myself to watch it because the trailer clip Netflix had looked really cringy. It was like from episode 1. And as we all know, like the first couple episodes of episode 1, like
the pilot's weird because it doesn't feel like I
like the vibe, but it's a different show, isn't it?
Hugely. Yeah.
And I would say it kind of was in that phase for me where I found all the comedy shows that just defined me later in life. So It's Always Sunny, Community, I mean, it's not so loved anymore, but Parks and Rec, sounds dark, but BoJack, you know, like all those shows where like if you like this one you probably watch all the others. I'm sure you've seen most of those as well.
I haven't seen any of them, so I feel like you were either on two sides of a coin when it came to, so like the middle ground was Community, and then on one side was all the shows that you just mentioned, and then on the other side for me was stuff like The Office, The Last Man on Earth, The Good Place,
kind of taking the lighter aspect.
That's which is strange for me. I think like so people that know us would probably have said
like a Venn diagram, isn't it? You know, you have like those kind of shows, these kind of shows in the middle, Community.
But you just saying that you watched it in first year of uni has now stumped me because I thought you were the one who told me to watch it.
I made that up or made a mistake or something, because when I first started uni, I told other people to watch it. That's why I'm making the mistake.
So when did you watch it then?
It would have been second year of college.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense then, because I was really confused because I'm pretty sure I don't know if you told me to watch it, but I think you sent me like a Snapchat or something from it, and I was like, I need something to watch. I don't even know how many seasons would have been out at that point.
Well, didn't you?
Hugely, so much. Like, I was just reminded before we started recording that Leanna hasn't actually seen all 6 seasons, and in my opinion, if you haven't seen all of 6 seasons, maybe you don't deserve the movie. But anyway, so yeah, how many seasons did you watch? Where did you get up to?
So basically what I can say is I've seen season 1 and 2 about 20 times each. I've seen season 3 like probably like 4 times, and then I've seen like, I'd say season 4 maybe the once, because I don't remember much of it, but I know I started it. And as much as people can say, how can you not remember this, is you're looking at like 7 years ago. Like, I honestly couldn't tell you. But let me think. I don't think I ever watched season 5. And season 6 I definitely didn't watch, but
yeah, to be fair,
episode because my boyfriend basically held me at gunpoint. and was like, some are good. I was like, okay.
As he should, because some are good.
He was right. I
Mostly
watched a bit of the second Dungeons and Dragons one, and I was like, okay, like the odd joke is good.
interesting fact that I didn't know. So actually, first interesting fact, for a show that is so interesting and has completely captured different generations of audiences, which is another thing we'll talk about a bit later, there are not that many interesting facts about the show itself.
No.
Actually, they're all kind of depressing what went on behind the scenes.
Oh, it's actually like at first, like it sounds funny, doesn't it, when you hear tiffs between casts, but when you actually go into the reasons,
it was
like,
it was a bit
upsetting.
more than tiffs, yeah. But the one interesting fact that I actually only learned today. So, do you remember the episode Advanced Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes.
Probably one of the best episodes.
Yeah.
Did you know it is not available to watch on Netflix?
Yes. Sky. Everyone's known that for a while.
I didn't know
Very
that.
good reason.
I didn't know that. Right. So it is for a very good reason. But I don't understand why they couldn't cut the scene.
Yes. So this has been a debate for a while. And obviously at the end of the day, you and me are two white women. So, you know, like we can't really speak on the matter too much. I saw a lot of people saying like it's the same argument with It's Always Sunny, where there's been that kind of situation in episodes. It already aired. Rather than like deleting it and pretending it never happened, acknowledge it and apologize. Do you know what I mean? And make it better. Yeah, it's a weird situation. It's so bizarre to me that it just got deleted off of Netflix.
It's just
and so
the
a lot of
entire
people aren't even aware of its existence.
That's what I mean.
Me,
The
that's
entire
much
episode.
darker. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? If someone became a fan now, they wouldn't know that happened. So it's like, you can't pretend you didn't do something problematic, because at the end of the day, you did. But
yeah, it's one of those things where like it was just so ignorant. It was so ignorant. But the thing is that there is, I mean, obviously that is like visual, it's blatant. There is a lot of questionable stuff that happens and is said in Community, and just with shows like this in general, that it just surprises me that they would, get rid of a whole episode where I was about to say I'd have to watch the episode again to know, but I can't. It just feels like they could have removed the scene instead of the whole episode. I agree with you. I think removing the whole episode, apart from the fact it's a shame because it is a good episode, it's just strange. Like it makes it dark, because I was literally like just looking up some stuff today, like one of the first things that comes up when you Google Community is what episode of Community isn't on Netflix, and it does make it sound like this really dark, twisted thing, as opposed to just plain ignorance. And I'm not disagreeing that something needed to be done about it. I also don't think they should have just like, not that I'm saying this is what you were saying, Leanna, but they should have just apologized and then left it. But I think acknowledging it, apologizing for it, and then removing the scene, like I don't know, it's just it's made it weirder.
Weird to me, because it just like it when you make a mistake, you can't just erase it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what the good solution would be. I mean, we are not the people to decide.
Yeah.
But you mentioned like other weird content. I mean, can we please talk about, I know everyone has different opinions on this, can we please talk about Jeff and Annie?
No, we can't. Moving on. Right. So their relationship actually made me hate Annie's character. And for anybody who's going to be like, oh, why didn't you hate Jeff? I did as well. But it's just because I liked Annie's character at first. And then I hate the fact that not only did her and Jeff's relationship make it really uncomfortable whenever the characters were together, it changed her character quite drastically. So even when she wasn't around him, she was different. And like, obviously, as the character got older, it actually got weirder, because she was still so infantilized. Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? Because they stress in the show how they're aging through college, but they still treat Annie like the little girl, and it is really creepy and, like, I hate to say it, a bit fetishizy.
Hugely.
You know?
To be honest, we do love this show, so we're just going to get all the bad stuff out of the way in the beginning. I think the way that they just treat women in this show is awful, because I
agree. I thought that on a recent watch.
Yeah, I also hated what they did to Britta's character, or lack of. It's like the first episode that you see her in, she is being set up as this intelligent, capable woman who is going to put Jeff in his place. You know, he's finally going to have this woman that is not only his equal I don't physically, but you know, in like mentally as well. And then like by episode 2, it was like they didn't know actually how to write a character like that, so they just made her the stereotypical dumb blonde.
And what is so aggravating to me is it could have worked really well if she was someone that genuinely wanted to make the world better and da 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 da. But there was the odd thing once in a blue moon where you're like, oh, like the fact that she does eat meat every now and again. Like,
I don't think it was
we
even
could...
a blue once in a blue moon.
Well, no. What I was going to say is, if that was the case, there could have been some comedy out of that. But they didn't do that. It was just complete, like, they completely annihilated her character.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even say that. They completely changed her character. They made her an idiot, and
Yep.
they just kind of made her a way to laugh at like the left and
Mm-hmm.
liberals. And I hate it because it feels so bipartisan. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, everyone who's like left leaning, I say that in quotation marks because, but yeah, it kind of like infantilizes people who have more liberal views. It makes them out to look like attention seekers and fake woke and all these different things. And what's unfortunate is that in this time period, like when Community started, and even now, really, that's a really common trope with female characters, and it's genuinely upsetting because it's like, why can't women care about the world and being
Yep.
vegetarian? Like, why is that funny? And it just comes across as so misogynistic. And you've just got all the female characters are stereotypes. And I know that in the beginning all the characters were stereotypes, but then they kind of got to evolve beyond it.
But it
like,
was different. Yeah.
exactly. And like Shirley, mother, like that's literally her thing. They don't really let her have much beyond that apart from the odd thing. Annie, we've already kind of discussed, and it frustrates me. It makes me angry, and I just, the more time passes, when I go back, I kind of find it a bit harder to look past it.
Yeah. But it's different in a way to say like Friends was. So that's another show that I'm not comparing them exactly, but you can't deny that Community was probably kind of like the Friends of its era. And don't get me wrong, yeah, I am also a Friends fan. I do enjoy the show. I do enjoy that it is just very basic and easy to watch. Obviously, Community was very different. Like as it went on, it got a lot more, like the story got, the characters maybe not so much, but the story got a lot more complex and like just so entertaining. But in a similar way, as it's aged, it has not aged well.
And I mean, that's nature, you know, that's time. Like, you know, time's a bitch. There's nothing you can do about it. But at the same time, like, even when it came out, those jokes would have been demeaning. So
yeah, and they knew that as well. It was kind of, because the thing is, like 2009 and 2012 was like the years of demeaning humor. Like it wasn't right, but that's the humor that everybody had. That was the era of like people would call like things gay because it was lame, or like it's not a good thing.
I've always thought of it as like punch down humor.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like, oh, let's kick on the little guy kind of thing. And it's just like, who are you impressing? You're not impressing anyone. And it's just not clever. Like the best bits of Community are when it's clever and when it kind of surprises you and makes you laugh and like a bit shocked. Not
The
when it
thing
just
is,
makes cheap jokes.
yeah, when it's bad, it's bad. When it's good, it is generally one of the best shows I have ever seen. And this isn't just bias. Like, even if you don't really like the show yourself, there are certain seasons and certain episodes that you can't deny that the writing is fantastic, the staging, amazing. It's probably more those isolated individual episodes, like, you know, ones like the paintball episodes and the Dungeons and Dragons episodes and things like that, that were just like, I would have like almost kind of like sketches, but not in the pandering way like Saturday Night Live is.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. So on that note, what is your favorite episode?
My favorite episode is Remedial Chaos Theory, and it always will be. Basic bitch, that is who I am. But it just is, because I think it's because one of my favorite things in a show is like running gags and callbacks, and that's one thing Community is so good at doing. So this is why it's a shame, because like some of the writing's really good, like things like that. And I just love the fact that it played into later storylines. I love the fact that it's probably like one of the most referred to just in everyday life. Like people talk about like being in the back, like the worst timeline and things like that. And just I don't know why I can't even explain what it would be, but I really like episodes or films of stuff where I get to see the same thing play out in
Yeah.
different ways.
No,
I'm
I'm the
kind of
same.
obsessed with it.
Yeah.
What about
I
you?
think I think so. I have a few things to say. You mentioned
Okay.
about like the callbacks and all in Community, and that's what makes it great. It is, it completely is very rewarding for the devoted
Hmm.
viewers, but it is also the thing that killed Community because people couldn't just tune in and watch an episode. They're like, huh? Like, as not as in you couldn't follow it, but you would be missing half the jokes and you'd be aware that you're missing something because
Hmm.
people would, characters are calling back to things. You're like, I'm sorry, I have no idea what's going on. And that's alienating. That doesn't
Hmm.
really work for sitcoms. So it makes it unique, but it's not TV friendly.
Hmm.
The other thing,
See, just quickly, this is where, and this is no drag on you at all, but this is where I really feel like you can tell the fan who watched it all religiously and then say yourself who like dropped off after a bit. So like I totally understand what you're saying, but like for me, I like don't care because it's like I obviously was able to watch them. So that's just I didn't even think about that. And
Oh
that's
no,
why it
I'm
went,
not talking about like say like from my point of view. I'm talking about like
yeah.
say like you're a TV exec, like
Oh no,
it
yeah.
like, let's cancel this bitch because like
Mhm.
people are not watching.
I thought even without doing that though, it ran itself into the ground. But
Yes,
anyway,
and
your favorite episode?
my favorite episode. I'll say mine, but then I also have something I want to talk about and compare it to another show.
Oh,
But
okay.
so I'd say my favorite episode is Contemporary American Poultry. I fucking
Okay.
love that episode. I think it is probably one of the most underrated.
Hmm.
Honestly, it's just like one. I love me some Scorsese, so of course I'm gonna love it.
True.
Goodfellas is one of my favorite films,
Hmm.
and I think it's the fact that the characters are all in character, but also somehow acting out of character. To me,
Hmm.
that is good fucking acting. Like Annie acting all like up herself about her bag and things like that.
Hmm.
It's like it's just brilliant acting, brilliant writing, fucking fantastic. And you learned more about Abed already in season one, but I think that was the episode where it's like, oh, he is lonely. Like you
Yeah.
kind of saw that different side to Abed, which I really
Hmm.
liked. But yeah, one of my favorites. What about something you suggested doing was talking
Hmm.
about the episodes that we think are the most underrated. What one would you pick?
So one of the ones I think is most underrated is like I feel like it's one that when people think about it, they'll realize, oh no, yeah, that was actually a good one. It's just kind of slow, and I think it was split into two, so a lot of people don't think about it. But it is documentary filmmaking.
Yeah,
I am
I love that one.
obsessed. Honestly, my probably it's so stupid. Probably one of my favorite gags in the whole show is Chang when he's being, what was it, Jeff and the Dean's understudy, and he's like, I've got my hair no, I've got a bowl cap on top of the Jeff wig on top of my hair. It's just so funny. I also think because I really like the Dean as a character. I mean, who
Me
doesn't?
too.
That those episodes are obviously so centered around him and how he changes,
When he
and it's
becomes
so,
mean,
oh my god, it's so funny. So
love
yeah,
it.
to me, I don't think enough people talk about that one.
No, I agree. I
Mhm.
think for me, if we're talking like a plain style, I love, love, love. I can never remember the name of it. The one that is kind of like the documentary of Pearson Hospital.
Oh
I
yeah,
love
when he
that
fakes a
show.
heart attack. That is funny.
The bequeathing joke, like every time.
Yes.
Yes. And I think because that one is really good because it kind of gets at emotional beats and is really
Hmm.
funny and gets kind of dark. So it's kind of like
Yeah,
everything that Community is good at in a perfect storm. It's like
so
an
true.
episode I think people literally forget about. But
Hmm.
then every time it's on, people are like giggling. So
And then I also like the fact that in the episode where Pierce dies
mm,
and they're all getting given stuff, and he gives Annie the tiara again, and
yeah,
he goes, "No, you actually are just my favorite." And I was
it's just
like,
my
"Why is that
favorite.
actually kind of cute?"
I really like as well. Another one I think is like kind of underrated is Debate. The Debate 109 one. I
Yes.
know it's the one where Jeff and Annie kiss, like ignoring that. That is
Yeah.
a funny fucking episode from quite
Hmm.
early on in the show. Love
Hmm.
it. So
Hmm.
good. Fucking fantastic, honestly.
Another thing that I feel like really needs to be brought up is the lockdown table read,
Yes.
because one of the things I really realized when I was watching it is that this show really does span across different generations, because obviously a lot of people did rediscover it during lockdown. There were loads of shows that were like that. But during lockdown, I actually introduced my sister, who's like 6 years younger than me, to the show,
Mm-hmm.
and she loved it as much as I did. And obviously, we're part of different generations, and we managed to watch up until it made sense for her to watch the table read because of the episode that they did. And it was so fun to watch it with her because I realized that, like, despite its flaws, this show has, like, a lot of it hasn't aged well, but I feel like it stood the test of time
Yeah,
a
completely.
lot better than, again, say stuff like Friends that I know is a lot older,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I think it's just because it's so dynamic and, like you said, unique in different ways that I really don't think we're gonna see a show like it again.
And I would also like probably mention that don't get me wrong, it's dated. There are references in it and like phones and car models and such,
Mhm.
but less so than other sitcoms. So
Yeah.
like Community kind of feels a bit more timeless, you know, it's
Mhm.
less pierced to a certain time. You watch Friends, it's like every other episode, and it's like a celebrity cameo. And you're
Yeah.
like, that is the early 90s, baby. But whereas with Community, it's not so much like that. You know, like they might
Mhm.
reference a celebrity like Louise Guzman, but it's just so stupid and out of pocket.
I think, well, that's just it. I think as well, by the time Community is completely out of date, we'll be dead, so it
Oh,
won't
I
matter.
completely agree. Yeah, I
That's
agree.
how long I think this is
Do you
going to
know
go
what it
on for.
kind of makes me think of?
Mm.
You know, Seinfeld and
Yeah.
Frasier, how like
Mhm.
they're so daft, but and they are kind of rooted in their time, but not so much. Like a lot of people our age are going back to them and really enjoying them because
Yeah.
the humor has kind of cycled round again. I
Mhm.
think Community is doing that. I really do.
I think so too. I mean, it's just been proven by the fact that I think also just like the power that this show has had on people, the fact
Mhm.
that, like, it said like 6 seasons in a movie. What
Mhm.
other show
Yeah,
could make that kind of bold statement?
yeah,
Like, yeah, okay, I appreciate that when that statement was originally said in the show, it wasn't about the show, but then they made it about the
mhm,
show. But what kind of show
yeah.
could do that and then actually manifest it to
Well,
happen?
you know what kind of show does that? It's a show where not just the audience love it, but the cast as well. Because
Yeah.
the main cast on that show fucking love it more than the audience
Mhm.
do. And you just
I
know.
also
Look at that for the
think
table read, man.
that's what I mean. I think the fact that they all came back, and also I don't know if it was intentional. It must have been intentional, but I even found like the underlayering of the fact that they did the episode where Pierce dies because
Oh,
obviously
don't.
Chevy
So
Chase
dark.
wasn't going to be in it, and I was like, "Ooh."
Also, can we will get to that in 2 seconds, but can we talk about the fact that Pedro Pascal came along for the table? I was dying. I was in
So
absolute
was I. I just, and do you know what? Another thing that having him in it made me realize
Mm,
is it's one of those shows that obviously, because by the time you get to like that point in the
mm,
show, you're so used to it that even the out of pocket stuff, you're like not expecting, but you just
yeah.
accept it without question. When he loses his mind and can't keep reading
And
after
the
he
others are
starts
just fine.
like giving out the sperm, it was one of those moments where I was like, yeah, this is actually really fucking weird. I can't imagine, like, probably never having watched the show realistically
Mhm.
and then reading that because on paper it would sound
Oh, it's
even more
brilliant. It's brilliant.
insane.
I know. But
So
like,
funny.
and as well, like the silliness of it, people love going back to because I mean, even Donald Glover in that table read, you could just tell how happy he was being back with
Yeah.
that kind of content. Those people, I mean, that table read gave us the classic moment of him finding out they all had a group chat without him and they're all
Yeah.
saying they'd out him. But yeah, we're talking about the silliness. I mean, it's Dan Harmon, so it's
Mhm.
gonna be daft. I mean, he went on to do Rick and Morty, so come on.
Mhm.
And I do want to talk about Dan Harmon's other projects in a minute or two
Mhm.
because
We should probably be making like notes and putting
yeah,
pins and stuff because we're gonna
the other
forget stuff as
tangents.
time goes on.
But
Yeah.
I mean, the trajectory that Community went in, a lot of people then, when Rick and Morty was getting a few seasons in, compared it, didn't they?
Mhm.
But we were talking about someone being absent from the table read. So of course, the elephant in the room, which we should talk about, you know, if we're also talking about
Mhm.
Dan Harmon.
Yeah.
Do you want to dive in, baby?
You could start.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so I mean, people that have watched the show, I mean, there's no one who's watched the show and unaware of the fact that Chevy Chase did, you know, he didn't exactly leave on amicable terms.
Mhm.
There's a lot of rumors about it, a lot of like evidence, you know, tapes and everything. But the main thing everyone knows is that him and Dan Harmon had beef.
Mhm.
And you know, Dan Harmon has said things like, "Oh, Chevy Chase was a washed-up star. That's kind of why we cast him as a funny joke." But then it turned out he really did have that kind of bruised
Yeah.
ego.
Mhm.
He was around all these talented people who kind of couldn't handle it. Donald Glover has said Chevy Chase seemed to have it out for him, because Donald Glover was obviously the star. Like, he clearly was. I mean, everyone in it was good, but you could tell he was the one that was gonna go do other things. But yeah, all that aside, Dan Harmon wasn't exactly an angel too. I mean, he got booted off his own show. That's kind of hard.
I was gonna say, yeah.
And you know, he came back, which you can have your thoughts about. But yeah, it just kind of seemed like very weird that something that was so heartwarming at times had such a tumultuous behind the scenes.
I think as much as, you know, like you said, obviously the cast loved the show, but like anytime, like I said, if you read anything about the behind the scenes, like they were like forced to work like really long hours, like things like bits like Troy and Abed in the morning kind of only happened because they were the only two actors that agreed to still be on set sometimes. So they filmed those bits because it was like, okay, we have them here, we need to film. And you know, there's I'm actually surprised that more OG characters didn't leave, if I'm being honest with you,
because the older I'm getting, the more I'm reading, the more I'm like, oh, they were kind of mistreated.
Yeah, it wasn't great. And obviously like the whole Chevy Chase thing was really weird as well, because I remember when it all first happened, like you said, hearing very mixed things. The fact that like, so apparently the decider for him leaving was him saying the N-word on the set. And not that it's okay, but it has been stated that he never said it towards anybody. Apparently there was context to him saying it, but apparently that was like the final straw. And I think it was Dan Harmon who decided that he was no longer going to be in it. But I think then like Yvette Nicole Brown, understandably, I think she kind of walked off set and went, I'm not coming back until he leaves.
Yeah.
And you know, it like it actually kind of surprised me that they like the production company or whatever didn't stick with Chevy Chase, considering the end of the day who he was.
I mean,
like,
he wasn't the draw of the show, really, was he?
Well, this was the thing. Like most people, say people of our age, didn't even know who the fuck he was. And I feel like I think you're right. I don't think he realized that he was being played for a joke. And if all this stuff is true, that everything that happened, you know, I'm not saying that him being fired was unjust, but I think it's a shame if it is also true that he was hired to be made a joke of, but wasn't being made aware that's why.
This is my thing with Dan Harmon, man. Like, he makes some good shit, but I'm not sure about him as a person. I mean, the stuff in his personal life as well, which kind of seeps into his work. Part of the reason he was kicked off for a lot of things, but another thing that came to light was he was inappropriate to a female member of staff. Don't know if you know.
About that. I also saw about his 8-minute apology.
Yeah, so and that came across as really weird as well, and all these different things. And obviously that then made the Jeff and Annie aspect of the show come across as even weirder.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of Dan Harmon stuff, and I'm sorry to say this if you haven't noticed, and now you won't be able to unsee it, there is quite often an interest in younger women. So sometimes you're watching Rick and Morty and like the way Summer's portrayed or other teenage girls. What's up, mate? What's up, Dan Harmon? What's going on here? You know, like,
I don't know if I want to know the answer, if I'm being honest.
Clearly he isn't the one writing every single joke and episode of the shows he works on, but he is very hands-on. And
do you know what? This is like, this will be another episode one day, so keep an eye out for that, because we said we were going to do it. But it's almost like the Ryan Murphy effect. Like, I'm very aware, as an example, that Ryan Murphy does not write every single episode of everything. He has a hand in it, like, and it is just associated with him. And it's like you said, it's a similar thing.
But
it's
the
like
DNA is there. It's the same thing.
It is. That's what it is. Yep.
But if they're slightly connected, you can really feel their presence. And unfortunately, Dan Harmon has some staples at this point. Yeah. I know that's really dark.
To get back into a bit more of a lighter note, what's your favorite kind of like running gag or background thing that they do in the show? Because that's another thing that like made me fall in love with it, because I didn't notice like the first time watching it, and I think most people, if you're being honest with yourself, neither did you. Okay, if you're watching Community, you're not watching it to like nurture your intelligence, you're watching it for the opposite reason. So yeah, what was your...
I think you're gonna say the same thing as me. I think it's the Abed and Baby storyline.
Oh my god, right, so I had two and that was one of them. The other one was So simple. But it was the Beetlejuice one. The one they said it like they said Beetlejuice 3 times throughout like a season, and then I think during one of the Halloween episodes, someone dressed as Beetlejuice just walks behind. It's just
so genius.
so good. But Abed and the relationship with the pregnant couple, insane. Because when you finally see it, because I will admit, obviously I never saw it, and then I watched it like a YouTube compilation, and I was like, oh, this isn't real. I was like, this is like an added thing that they've done, because that's another thing with this show. Like, there's a lot of like fan theories and things and added stuff, like Abed also being in Cougar Town. Like, what kind of show again has that power for that to happen?
I piss myself.
Literally though. And also it's not even like, oh, he was in the back, he was Abed in the background. They drew attention to him being in there.
What gets me is how the show is meta before meta got super cringy. Do you know what I mean? But then it fell into its own trap, and it's so sad. But one of my favorite examples of it being like a little bit meta was the episode that's like a supercut of all their memories of each other, and there's the like fan edit. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Do you know that's based on a real edit?
No.
So there was this infamous edit of Jeff and Annie, and what they did is they basically parodied it in the episode, and they used the same song from the edit.
I didn't know that. I love this show so much.
Literally every time I watched the edit, I would piss myself, and then when I found that out, now it's just 10 times funnier to me. Like, I will find the edit and send it to you. We'll post it on Twitter.
We'll post it, because that's so
just the commitment as well to use the same song. Like, that's just so brilliant to me.
If you ever needed a definition of commit to the bit, it's Community.
Oh,
I think that's the other thing. So it's even how, obviously, 2009, what's one of the biggest rival shows? Glee. What did they do? They took active stabs at Glee.
So good.
Like, we even mentioned it in our Glee episode. Regionals. We have to get to regionals. Fuck does that even mean? Nobody knows. Like, I gotta say, I can't floor it. Obviously I can, but you know what I mean.
I know
it has a special place in my heart
as well. Like, they mock Glee, but there's a lot of music going on in Community, and I've realized this about myself in recent years. I love a show with a musical number. I really do.
Oh yeah, I mean, actually, I wanted at some point to do like maybe a mini-sode on this, just how like every show like this, like Buffy, Grey's Anatomy, Community, obviously not Glee because it was all musical, but
Sunny did one.
There's always a musical episode, and they are always fucking fire. They're so good.
But this is my thing, like with Community, is it really played with like format and convention in the beginning, and it worked more because it didn't have too much of its own running through storyline. I think when me and a lot of other people dropped off was when its own storyline got too convoluted. You're probably going to disagree with me here, but I started hating it when they went on about the Dreamatorium and the timelines and all that kind of stuff too much. Basically, me, my sister say this thing, and it is that we like Community less when they're in the school less. Because what I loved about the show was the core concept, really. And this is what leads me to talk about Rick and Morty, because the exact same thing happened with Rick and Morty, and they knew they fucked up in Rick and Morty, because in the latest season they address it and they talk about going back to the basics quite often. So Dan Harmon must be aware that he kind of becomes victim to his own like world building.
To be fair, well, I guess you wouldn't know if you haven't seen it. They do the same thing in Community.
Yeah, but that would
so
be
they, but no, but this is what I mean though. You think you would learn eventually, because they basically find excuses. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm happy that, you know, 6 seasons in a movie is happening, but the show definitely went on too long because it should have stopped when they all left. But they found excuses to have them come back, and then it became, because like the whole thing was that, like, you know, people think it's sad to go to community college, and what did this show do? It changed that, like, not that that was its goal, but it changed that kind of idea. But it became sad when they were all finding excuses to go back.
It's kind of like they even in that way.
Yeah, but you know, with Glee, even though like it is still sad, I kind of expect it from Glee. I guess I expected more from Community. I don't know.
True. Very true. I think I completely understand what you're saying as well, like how do you do it twice? Because, you know, like not just through like being like critical of your own work, but seeing audience reaction. you know, you're not like writing a private project and you're like, oh shit, I did that last time.
Yeah.
You've literally had an entire audience tell you like the mistake you made. How the
Mhm.
fuck did you do it again?
It's literally like, fool me once, fool me twice, you know?
Yes.
Like,
And I'll tell
really?
you what, the next major project he does, if he does it again, I think people are honestly going to be fed up. And
Do you know what though? I disagree. I don't think they will, because we're all suckers for punishment. Like, the only thing I'm holding on to now is that, and I think it is going to be, I don't actually have any worries, but the film needs to be good. It just
oh,
needs to be.
honestly, if it's not, I'll scream. But then the movies aren't often good. Like the Simpsons movie, don't get me wrong, it's loved now. But do you remember at the time,
I loved it.
people, no, no, don't get me wrong, we were kids when it came out. So of course we're
I
like
don't
less
remember people
critical.
disliking it.
I remember a lot of people, like the adult fans, you know, people that were kids who grew up with The Simpsons. Oh my God, a movie, they hated it because it
Yeah, I
was more
think
like modern Simpsons.
that's what I mean though. I
Yeah.
guess that was more to do with,
Asperger's movie, I quite
I
enjoyed, but
haven't
it
seen that.
wasn't quite what I wanted it to be.
I mean, it is a different kind of format. The only reason I do have hope for Community is because, and it's gonna sound really stupid, but you know, like Deadpool, for example, obviously
Mm.
has a lot of like fourth wall breaking and, you know, very obvious meta moments. So we've seen it can be done.
Mhm.
And obviously, because Community is not quite on the outrageous scale that like films like Deadpool are,
Mm.
I don't know. I'm just not. I'm probably, you know, check back with us when the film comes out, because we'll definitely be doing an
Mm.
episode on it. I
Oh,
could just be,
100%.
you know, in floods of tears eating my words, but I'm not worried about it. I
Can
think
you
it's going to
imagine
be
like
good.
the edit where we take what you've just said and it's like black and white somber music?
Well, you know what? I think it's going to be fine. I think it's going to be a great movie and we're all going to
Mhm.
love it.
I mean, I'm going for the whole like set the bar low so I can only be happy. You
See,
know what I mean?
I'm worried. I agree, but I'm worried that if I set the bar low, I kind of
You've
will go in
manifested it.
already disappointed. You know what I
Mm,
mean?
very good
Like, I
point.
feel like I'll actually judge it harsher. I don't
Very
know.
good point.
Maybe because it's so far away, I feel I'm like I'm cool about it. Like the day before it comes out, I might have like a panic attack. I don't know. Despite my low expectations, maybe disguised as high expectations for the movie, that's kind of all I have to say about, like, I don't even have any theories on like what I think it's gonna be. I have enjoyed people talking about how it'll be the next Knives Out film. Have you seen?
Oh, I've not
Have
seen
you?
that, but I can
I
see
am gonna
where
send
that
you.
logic comes from.
Oh no, Liana, I'm gonna send you the Twitter thread. Somebody has even come up with like how the characters would play into it. I'll
Oh,
find it and send it
stop.
to
Oh my
you.
God,
It's so
please.
good.
It's like I don't want to make assumptions or kind of like try and figure out what it's going to be, but at the same time that does make it really fun because one
Mhm.
thing I will say about Community is it's always going to surprise you.
I'm just curious if they'll try and lead off from like, I mean, I can't even remember what happened in the last episode.
See, this is the only problem, is it's such a shame the movie is happening so much after the show has ended, because
Yeah.
that's the only thing that worries me is, can you recapture the energy? Because I
Well,
know people
actually,
want a movie that has the tone of like season 2.
and I think actually waiting this long will do it, because the problem is when the show ended,
Mm,
from what I can remember, they were all living pretty sad lives.
yeah.
You know, so I feel like we needed this like time break for them to sort themselves out a bit. And I mean,
Yeah.
are we going to return to the school? Most likely, so it's probably still going to be sad, but you know
Mhm.
what, for what movie, we'll do it.
That's a good point, I guess. If it was straight after season 6, then it would have been a bit more
Yeah, I
going.
also think it would, I mean, obviously it's still money grabbing, because they know that, like, honestly, if the pandemic hadn't happened, would the film be happening?
Yeah.
Probably not.
But do you know what's so fascinating to me? Where's it going to
Mm.
screen? The state of UK cinemas right now, do you reckon it's going to go straight to a streaming service?
Oh yeah, I don't think it's
Or
coming out in the cinema.
do you think, I think streaming service, limited release, kind of
Mm.
like Glass Onion had, where it like, you know, in cinemas for like 1 week only.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that might be the Community
Maybe.
film. Or
I
maybe
don't even
like
think
one
it's,
day even, you know?
I think like really select cinemas might have
So
it
do
for a
I. It will be
day.
like Prince Charles in London and like
Yeah.
Independence. Like I don't see
If that,
chains showing it.
I personally see more it not going to the cinema at all. Do you know what I think would be great? And I think it'd be very much like Community to do it. Just released it on DVD.
Oh, stop. That'd be so funny.
That would be really fucking funny.
Like a Blu-ray.
Yeah. But anyway, other plot wise, anything, I don't have any predictions because I'm just very open for how it's
Yeah.
going to happen. I feel like we're probably starting to wind down a bit on this episode. So one last thing I wanted to say about the show is something I was only thinking about the other day, and it's probably a stupid thought, but something that I think is kind of, it's like a gag that's overlooked slightly, is I think it's during the Meow Meow Beans episode, right? Do you remember when, if you saw that one, I don't know, Britta has, so the Meow Meow Beans one is when like an app called Meow Meow Beans takes over the school, and basically it becomes like a society where everybody is judged on how many Meow Meow Beans they have the ranking. Right, okay. So there is a whole bit where Britta becomes like this revolutionary leader, but the people will only listen to her when she has mustard on her face, which you think about it, you're like, that's, how do you even come up with that? That's so fucking stupid. But you know what it made me realize is that like literally today you have TikTokers who will get big for like one video, right? And this is no shade at this TikToker, it's just one I can think of right now. For example, there was this girl who had a video that blew up when she like slicked her hair back and talked about how other girls look really sexy when they do it, but she looks like Draco Malfoy, right?
And she's made like a career out of it.
But this is my point. But the thing is that, and I'm sure she loves doing it, so that's not what I'm saying. But now what does she have to do? She has to keep creating videos to do with that character. And I just find it funny. Similar thing with like Britta and the mustard. People only listened to her when she had the mustard on. So I don't know.
So do you think it could head down like the social media route?
Possibly.
I'm telling you now, I reckon it's going to be like the Scooby-Doo movie, where they're all really distant in life and then they all come together and they've all gone down these different paths. And I reckon one of them will be an influencer.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was Britta, because
I was just going to say it's going to be Britta.
And she'll also have like a huge ego about it.
Or maybe Troy. It'll be one of those two.
I don't know. I feel like Troy's gonna go the opposite way.
Do you reckon he's like a sea captain?
I think there's gonna be like some comment to make you think he's not even gonna be in it, and then he'll just pop up or something.
Oh yeah, like right at the end he'll rock up on a boat.
Yeah, well so there was even, I didn't even notice this, but apparently there was like an episode, obviously after he'd left, where I can't remember why, but they were watching something on TV, and then like the little news thing underneath whatever they were watching talked about how I can't remember his name so people don't kill me, but the guy that he was with was captured by pirates along with non-famous companion or whatever. So the last we heard of them, by the sounds of it, they've been captured by pirates. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's how his storyline carried on.
What I want to see is that kind of thing where like they kind of hint at things that happened in the show where you can still enjoy the film, but you'll enjoy it more if you understand those references to previous episodes. I think I really want it to be like a reunion. I really do, because it would be so unrealistic to play it like they've all stayed super close. And it could be really funny if... Did you ever watch the whole of Parks and Rec?
I haven't. I think I've seen
so basically the final season, this isn't spoiling anything, it's like the theme of the season is that two major characters have fallen out, and it takes the whole season almost to figure out what happened between them. And it's brilliant, and I would love to see something like that in this film. And them getting back together as friends. And like I want to see like Abed as like an Academy Award winning director or something, and he's like, got like his sunnies on and he's gone like full Hollywood and like decked out and stuff. And it would be really fun if like Jeff was the one that hasn't done well in life and he's like broke or something, and he got everyone back together. I just want to see something like that. That's what
I completely agree with all of them, like not having kept contact and everything, apart from, and I don't know why, but two characters I actually want to keep in contact with each other is Abed and Jeff.
Oh, that would actually be quite cute.
I kind of want them to have stayed close. Like, I don't know, like whether Jeff is down and out or because the thing is, he got his big shot lawyer job back and then he dropped it to become a teacher at Greendale. So it kind of wouldn't surprise me if he's still a teacher at Greendale and like maybe Abed comes back and visits him. I don't know.
I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with Troy and Abed, because is Donald Glover returning? I'm pretty sure he is.
I think they've pretty much said that everyone's showed interest in returning.
Okay, so like, do I want them to have fallen out, or do I want them to have stayed friends
I
until now.
have a feeling they'll do like a thing where it might be awkward for like a second for them, and then they'll just go straight back into it, because that's just kind of how they were.
Yeah, like maybe it'll
you
be like
know?
really like when like they are in the same
Like,
room and everyone gasps and it turns out they fell out over like a Blu-ray. or
yes,
something.
and it like wasn't even something either of them did. It was like they thought, like Abed thought Troy did it and Troy thought Abed did it, or something like that.
And they just do the
Because like,
handshake.
yeah, like their relationship is so cute. It's
Mm.
just so cute. It still haunts me to this day. Like the last episode they're in together when they're playing The Floor is Lava, and Troy just says to Britta, is like, the lava is real for him. And it just
That's so
it's such
cute.
a stupid line, but I'm even tearing up now because it's so fucking cute.
Well, I'm glad to hear we have similar ideas of what we think the film is going to be, or at least what it's going to be
Considering
like.
I thought I didn't have any.
Yeah. But this is the thing, even if you don't think you've like come up with the narrative, you're going to have expectations of like the characters and where they're at. And I'm sure everyone
So
else does.
if I'm not disappointed in the film, I personally blame you, because I didn't actually have my hopes up, but now I do.
Sorry, my bad. But we want to hear like everyone else's guesses. So honestly, all our listeners, let us know wherever you're listening, in comments or on social media, YouTube comments, what you think the film is going to be about, or if you think it's going to be any good or not. Completely let it go on your keyboard, honestly, because everyone's entitled to their opinion. I think we all have completely different expectations, and it's going to be really fun to look back on these comments when the film's released.
Yeah. Also, just use all of our socials, which we'll leave link below on YouTube. So again, wherever you're listening to, go to YouTube, you'll find them. Just use us as a place to rant and rave about Community, because like I don't know how we've never kind of brought it up before. I think like, so we brought it up really briefly on our Glee episode, but like we love it. We really do.
It is
like
genuinely like you wouldn't know, but it is so central to me and
Like I
Sky's
said,
personalities.
our personality, our friendship, everything, like hugely. So
Mhm.
yeah, go just say what you want. We'll reply. Probably have like a bit of a freak out with you as well, because it's just such a great show.
Yes, very exciting.
But,
So yeah, if you enjoyed this, please give it a like wherever you are, and on YouTube, please subscribe if you've really enjoyed this. Check out some of our other episodes, maybe the Glee one, like Sky has mentioned a few times. This was really fun because I don't know, sometimes we talk about kind of dark things. It's
which
really
we
quite
did
fun.
get in a
Yeah, we
bit
got
too in
into
this
dark
episode,
topics,
but
I mean,
like
like we did our whole Halloween series recently. Go check that out if you haven't. It's fun to talk about a comedy. Maybe we should talk about comedy sometimes.
it is, yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see how it
We'll
goes.
get around to it. But anyway, yeah, give a like and subscribe, like I said. Follow us on all socials, like Sky said, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.